Hello and welcome to Fowl Plays, where we look at tales of tabletop tragedy that are sure to ruffle some feathers. I'm your host, Boss Goose, and today's story features a beginner DM and a player who wanted to live his overpowered anime character fantasy so badly that he secretly adds a special ability to his sheet and throws a fit when everyone doesn't just go along with it. Without further delay, let's dive on in. I feel we all know those players who want their D&D experience to be an anime from the deep archives of Crunchyroll. This is pretty much my experience with one. So I had played with this guy, who we'll call Kevin for non-reasons, for a while before I DM'd for him, and he was kinda known for being juggled around by the groups of this local scene we're a part of. This sounds pretty shitty of our group, but to clarify, he was known for ruining campaigns, whether it be through bullshit characters or throwing fits when he didn't get his way. Sadly, despite this, my group was always too kind to say no, and so I often played with him, and I knew what to expect. At this point, I had been a player for about 2 or 3 years. I hadn't DM'd before, and I was interested in trying, and my usual DM was interested in being a player again, so everything worked out. I started the Dragon of Icespire Peak campaign, which was a set I had borrowed from one of my players who wanted to play it but didn't want to run it. In this campaign, the main setting is this large coastal city, and the main threats are orcs, ogres, and of course a huge dragon, which serves as the final boss. I found this campaign to be interesting and pretty easy as it was a level 1 campaign. With my campaign chosen and 2 of the recommended 4 players chosen, I was excited to get a group going. This is where Kevin comes in. I am sadly a little too nice for my own good, and decided if I simply put a few restrictions on characters, I could hopefully have a good campaign. So when Kevin asked, I said yes, but not without making sure he knew I would be checking characters for OP traits and the like. And while it seemed a little too nitpicky of me, I would be vetoing characters that seemed a little too hard to manage for a first time DM like myself. He agreed, and I figured that was the end of it. I found my final player, a friend of mine who I had recently introduced to D&D a few months prior, and we began creating characters. With everything going well, I had a team of an Oathbreaker Paladin named Asmir, a Cleric Druid named Nisan, a Dragonborn Fighter named Korin, and a Cleric named Lafora. I approved all these characters, including Kevin's, who was the Oathbreaker, and was excited to start. We began the campaign, and I read out the text from the book, letting the players get a grasp and decide what to do. Eventually, the characters were all hired for the same job taken from the tavern, which is where they collide and begin interacting for the first time. They sit and eat and begin to discuss the job, where Asmir is acting odd and looking down the whole time. This falls in line with the traits of Asmir, and so I think nothing of it. Eventually, a fight breaks out with a drunkard irritating Korin and causing a ruckus. The city guards attempt to interfere, which is where Kevin asks, "Did they look into my eyes?" Confused, I counter with, "You never stated you looked up and met eyes with one, so no?" And attempt to move on. The guards reprimand Korin and fine her, which is when Kevin rolls for intimidation to attempt to rid Korin of her fine. He successfully intimidates 3 of the 4 guards, where he states that he looks into their eyes and growls, telling them to decrease the fine. At this, Kevin begins rolling around 68s, and when I ask why, he explains that his character has an ability. This ability seems to be more of a curse. He explains that Asmir can do 68's worth of physical damage to any character that looks into his eyes. This was not included on his sheet when we made our characters, and was added afterward without letting me know. I explained that an ability such as this is too advanced for a level 1 character, and that if he wishes to keep this curse or ability, he would need to at the very least lower the damage dice. He, of course, caused a big scene and threw a fit. Eventually I throw in the towel, too mentally exhausted to deal with his temper tantrums, and compromise. The damage would be mental, and could be defended with a successful wisdom save. Kevin agrees, and I roll for the 3 guards, 2 of which successfully roll above the 12 on Asmir's character sheet. The last one isn't so lucky. These guards were not high level, and didn't have much health, but in my mind the mental damage would not be enough to cause physical harm. Kevin rolls his dice, and the roll ends up rather high, making the guard's mentality corrode, and he becomes irrational. In, quote, defense, Asmir, who coincidentally was first on the initiative roll done previously, attacks the guard, who is disoriented and at a disadvantage. He knocks off a good portion of this guard's health and causes the guard to panic, and with a nat 1 on counter, stabs himself in the throat. This, of course, kills him, and due to the bizarre context of this, the 3 guards arrest Asmir for attacking a guard resulting in death. And Kevin, say it with me now, throws a fit. He argued it wasn't his fault and requests to explain the situation to the head guard. This character doesn't exist in the book provided, so I end up completely making this character up. He argued his case, and the head guard decides that he is not innocent. Kevin gets angry and attempts to attack him, after which he is detained and sentenced to death for attacking a city guard, which resulted in death, and attempting to harm the head guard. The execution was kinda my way of neutralizing Kevin. I told him he could create a new character and be introduced later in the campaign, but his character was now unusable in this campaign. Kevin was outraged. After exchanging a few, quote, friendly words with me and the owner of the location that we played at, Kevin was kicked out, and as the word spread throughout the groups of this local scene, Kevin wasn't welcome in any group, essentially banned from playing with any of them. This is a pretty long story, which I am sorry for, but I felt like sharing this could possibly help both other players and other DMs be aware of these types of people, and make sure they don't cause problems, especially for new DMs like myself. So right off the bat, it's definitely a big no-no to try to add secret powers or abilities to your sheet and hiding them from the DM. I'm not sure how Kevin thought this would ever fly, because at some point he would need to reveal the ability if he ever planned on actually using it. And at that point, the DM's going to be wondering where it came from. That aside, the ability itself was way too powerful. 68 at will whenever you make eye contact? That's basically a mid-range spell with unlimited use and no drawback. Way too powerful for a first level character. I'm also going to go ahead and say, while Kevin was definitely in the wrong here, I don't think OP handled it great either. Allowing Kevin to keep the ability after he throws a tantrum is enabling that kind of behavior, which is probably why he keeps on doing it and has gotten the reputation he has. In the end, the DM has the final say when it comes to what is and isn't allowed in their game, and it's not really fair for the other players who all followed the rules to see the problem child rewarded by getting to keep their ability, even if it was changed from physical to mental damage. In OP's defense, they were new to DMing at the time, and I imagine they handled this awkward situation the best that they could, but I hope that they developed a firmer hand going forward with problem players like this. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video and sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I'm going to try uploading new content every Thursday and Sunday, so make sure you check out my channel for more D&D stories. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave me a goosebump in the comments below. But until next time, be good players.